About a month ago, I had the opportunity to go to an Upward Bound graduation, and I'm sure all of us are familiar with Upward Bound because it has done a phenomenal job in our community for, a lot of years. I think it's 40 something. And this young lady, of course they had a guest speaker. They had good food too. But the interesting thing was that they had this guest speaker who came in and made a delivery and impacted me so because of a quotation that she used and a theory that she projected that I won't tell you, I'll let her tell you. So I decided that she would be phenomenally good for the community. And I had the opportunity because some of you know, many of you don't, that I teach in the prison system, in the correctional system. I like that better. And so she made such a good speech at Upward Bounds, and it impacted me so, and I was so impressed until I was having a graduation for these residents at both the Transitional Center and Central State Prison the next week. So I asked her, I said, well, and she didn't know me, of course. We had heard of each other, but we didn't know each other personally. I said, will you be so kind as to be my guest speaker, for the residents of these institutions? Now mind this, both graduations were the same day. And she graciously consented to do it. So I have, as my guest today, Judge Verda Colvin. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham. And as I said, I have the judge with me. And, she's such a warm and phenomenal and down-to-earth person. And the thing that really struck me is that although she's a judge, I've heard her say that she believes very strongly in giving everybody a chance to tell their side. She just does not make assumptions about any situation, though a person may have committed some kind of an infraction. And when you find somebody who understands and believes and practices the concept there are two sides to a story, then that in fact is a phenomenal person. How you doing, Judge?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Let's begin by just telling a little bit about yourself, about where you're from and where you grew up and all of that, so the community will get to know you.
Exactly. I'm from Atlanta, born and raised. Went to school, public school in Southwest Atlanta, which most people are familiar with, Greenbrier, Campbellton Road area. Grew up there, and then after that went to college in Virginia. After leaving Virginia, I decided I wanted to go to law school because I wanted to save the world. And my mom said, my two choices were being a lawyer or being a missionary. And my mom said, missionaries don't make any money. So she said, you like to talk, law school seems like a viable option. So in first grade, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I went to law school at UGA, graduated from law school, and went to Charlotte to work for a while, came back home after 3 years, and kind of fell into prosecution because I was such a advocate for protecting individual rights. I could never see myself being a prosecutor, but I started off in misdemeanors. And so I thought, I could do this because really, it's just about paying fines, nobody goes to jail, no biggie. And I left the solicitor's office and went to, I think I went to private practice again. Anyway, I ultimately got into a DA's office. And I said, okay, now how am I going to juggle this because I'm dealing with the real serious crimes? But then I found my calling. Number one, because I love trial work, because I like dealing with people. I think I understand what people want to hear as jurors. I think I understand the plight that people go through. And so I found that my greatest asset was being able to help at the beginning of the process. So I made the charging decisions. I decided whether a case was sufficient enough to proceed. And I always like to say I took pride in making sure that before I proceeded with any trial that I made sure that I had sufficient evidence. So I didn't throw things out on a whim. I made sure, because this is somebody's life.
Right.
And I always like to say to myself and to others, I couldn't do a day in jail. So I'm not going to lightly take that into consideration when I'm prosecuting a case. So my claim to fame is every witness I ever put on the stand met me before they got to the stand. because I owed that to the person sitting across from me
Come on.
in the courtroom. I owe that to them. I have a duty to them, because not only do I serve the residents who commit no crimes, I serve the people who have made infractions. But everybody just wants an honest, fair day in court.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And so ultimately I did that, went to the U.S. Attorney's Office in 1999 and stayed there until my appointment in this year, 2014, and loved every day of it. I mean, that was my greatest joy, being able to say I represent the United States of America. When I left the office, I told them, and I was kind of a little teary-eyed when I said it, but that gave me such pride to be able to stand in a courtroom and know I represented the United States of America. Even
that was as a U.S.
Exactly, even
right.
bigger than when I was in the DA's office, and I represent the state of Georgia.
Right.
And so I enjoyed what I did. I felt like in ways I could give back that were more beneficial than what I could have done on the other side.
Right.
And so when I got the call to put my name in for this, I did what I thought I had to do, because I had been praying some years before that.
Now
Gosh,
you got to tell us what this is, because I did.
oh, this meaning the judgeship?
Yeah.
Okay. When I put my name in for the judgeship, and I've been talking about it so much, I think everybody knows, but I didn't do it with the theory of I want to do this. I did it because several people came to me. The first person who came to me was one of my former supervisors, Sharon Ratley, and she said, I think you need to think about this. And I kind of thought, no way, no how. They just, she's just saying that because she's being nice. And then ultimately, several other people came to me and said, you need to think about it. And so I thought, I had been praying for a couple of years that I knew I need to serve in a greater capacity. And so once the third person came to me, I thought, duh, this may be God telling you what you need to do to serve in a greater capacity. And so I said, I'm going to put my name in, but I'll put my name in. I'm not going to do all that political movement that people do to try to make it happen. If it's God's will, it'll happen. And so here I am.
And your position is?
Now I'm Superior Court of the Macon Judicial Circuit, which serves Bibb County, Crawford County, and Peach County.
Okay, very good. Now let's talk a little bit about the quotation that you used to inspire me. I really wanted to say it, but I think, but I'm gonna let you. I'm not gonna plagiarize it. I'm not gonna take it. But I think it's so deep and so significant, and not only as it relates to, and that's why I used you and asked you to come and talk to those people who have been and are arrested in the system or in the correctional system. But you use the same phrase, frankly, for the young people.
Exactly.
Who were graduating from Mercer's Upward Bound program. So let's just take that quotation and expound on it. Yeah, you hit That's what I was. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. I'm interviewing Judge Verda Colvin, which is the Superior Court judge in what district is it?
That's Macon Judicial Circuit.
In Macon Judicial Circuit, serving
Bibb County, Crawford County, and Peach County.
Serving Bibb, Crawford, and Peach. Recently appointed judge, and we're going to let her talk about that famous quotation in just a minute. We'll be right back. Say it, but tell us again, because I think it's so powerful, and parents and other individual counselors and other individual teachers and other individuals who are in the community and whose concern parallel that of the judge, then I think that this is something that's really phenomenal and deep and can make a difference in everybody's life. As a matter of fact, when I told the two classes I'm having, one at the halfway house, which is the transitional, which I had, which is the transitional center, and the other one, which was at Central State Prison, I told them, I said, well, I found us a speaker, you know, and I quoted you as it relates to that quotation. So talk about that for a minute.
Well, when I went to the ceremonies and spoke at the Transitional Center as well as the Central State Prison, the correctional facility, I had spoken at the Upward Bound, as Alex said, and the quotation, I have to give credit to someone as well. My son and I have constantly throughout his life, he's now 19, shared quotes back and forth, and I'm a real big advocate of quick, powerful thoughts to help motivate people. And so one day he came home and he said, Mom, I've got one for you. And I said, what? It's not going to be as good as mine. And he said, yeah. And I said, what was it? What's the quote? He said, the end of the road, a bend in the road, excuse me, is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. Let me say that again. A bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. And that was so powerful to me when he said that. I think even more powerful than what he realized, because I thought we all have bends.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and one bend isn't really different than another bend. It's just a bend. And the distinction between those who seem to make it and those who don't is who can navigate the turn in the road. So you just got to bend with it. And so I told the young people that were bound that because, you know, they're so happy, they're graduating from the program, they're going on to college, and so the way they see the world is that all of it is rosy. And you and I, everybody here knows that that's not the way it's going to be. And so I wanted to give them something to think about, so when they met challenges in college, when they met challenges during their final year of high school, they would remember, hey, this is just a bend. Let me bend with the road.
Right.
Because if I don't bend, it's going to be the end of the road, potentially. Right. And so I shared that same message with Alex's graduation groups from both of the facilities, because to me, their experiences there have just been bends. It doesn't, one experience doesn't determine who you are unless you allow it to. And that's why I was so happy and I felt honored, and I told them this, to speak at both of those graduations. Many times we consider people who've made major mistakes in life, infractions that cost them some of the time of their life, as being someone who has less value. And to me, in ways, they can have more value. Because they can come out and they can show how that bend was just not a bend. And that they can make that road curve the way it needed to so that they won't get to the end. And so I think it's incumbent upon me. I think my God-given gift and talent is to inspire people. And if I don't do that, I feel like I'm leaving something on the table. At the end of the day, I've got to make sure I left everything on the table, that I didn't, you know, walk away with things left undone. And so I venture out. I try to do whatever I can to inspire people, because I know that's what got me through. And quotes, and I think that's been my inspiration, reading all of these quotes through all these years and getting these pearls of wisdom to help me through. And so just sharing that to those audiences meant so much to me, because people just need to be inspired. That's what's wrong to me. There's a lack of inspiration.
Right.
And so that's the quote that I shared that Alex loves to death, and he can take it and use it. But I give my son the credit for giving me that.
Okay, well, you better tell me his name, because I really want to give.
His name is Weston Stroud.
Yeah, Weston. Okay, let's give Weston proper credit. Okay, now you've been, let's talk a little bit first about your job.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that, but talk first about your community involvement. I know you're a firm believer in the community, and I know you're involved in several initiatives, and I'm going to tell you that, you know, Judge is busy and she can't remember all of them, you know, but just talk about some of the initiatives in which you've been involved.
Well, I'll talk about first what relates to my judgeship. I am the judge who's in charge of Family Violence Court and Mental Health Court. And those are courts that recognize there are certain issues that may need to be taken out of the general pool of those offenders who come in the system. And so we have specialty courts, and those are two of the specialty courts which I handle. In fact, I left one of them today to come to this particular interview. I left Mental Health Court, which is one of the joy of everything I do, the joy of my job, because I get to see people who struggle in ways through no fault of their own, but who in better ways than those of us who are equipped to, who are considered to be okay, they handle their bends in the road much better than anyone else. They get back up, they continue doing what they have to do for their mental health, and they do all they can to ensure their success. And it's no greater joy than seeing people recognize there's an issue they have, and then doing what it takes to remedy that issue and succeeding. And so I talk about that with a lot of passion because I'm passionate about that. That's what I do as a judge. Outside of my judgeship, before I became a judge, I was very involved with scouting. I just think, particularly in our community, the African American community, I don't know that we recognize the value that scouting can give both boys and girls. My son became an Eagle Scout, and I put my son in scouting, and I know I'll talk to many people in this audience, because I was a single mom raising my son, and his dad didn't have a lot of day-to-day involvement in his life. I recognize, and I think women have to recognize this, we are not equipped to give a young man everything he needs to get to grow to be the man that we would like him to be, because we're women. So we don't experience the world through a man's eyes. So I recognized I needed to get someone involved in his life in a way that could give him an experience that I didn't have. And for me, that was scouting. I cannot tell you, and my son will say to you, scouting did for him what I couldn't do, being educated, versed in many things, even being financially sufficient where I could put him in certain activities. Scouting gave him a world that I couldn't give him. He was around other men who knew life skills. He could do certain things that I couldn't teach him how to do. He sawed down a tree in our yard. He did just practical things that we can't give them as women. And so I am a huge proponent of scouting, and I'm on the executive committee. I'm also a member of Scout Reach with Eli Morgan, who brought me into the executive board because of my involvement. And I'm also a Girl Scout leader. I started the troop at St. Peter Claver when it initially started, and kept it going until my daughter left St. Peter Claver to go into public school. And then they asked me to come back to help lead the troop, and so we went back to that troop to help lead that troop, but she's been there. I don't know what will happen with our troop there, and if anybody hearing this has affiliation with St. Peter Claver, please, please, please don't let that troop die. Keep our number alive. But if it is, she'll still be a part of that troop, and I would be a part of that troop. But I just think we have to reach out to give our kids all that they can have. And because I'm so committed to youth, I'm involved with the youth ministry at my church. I'm one of the youth ministry leaders. And so I'm kind of in charge of putting together all the programming. And this weekend we're going to Amacola Falls up in Dawsonville, Georgia, for a retreat where our pastor will speak to them about communing with God. That's the First Baptist. So I do that. I teach children's church, children's Sunday school. What else do I do? I'm a part of Jack and Jill, which is designed to give back to children. That's the whole purpose of the organization. And so I do that. I'm a part of organizations affiliated with the legal community, but I try to, anything that's involved with giving back to the community, I try to do. I volunteer for anything people ask me to do. If I have a space open on my calendar, I'm there, because that's my service I feel like I owe the world. Separate and apart from my judgeship, that doesn't matter. I remind people when I'm on the bench all the time, I have to wear this robe and I have to sit up high because our society says we want people to recognize the law is important. But I'm just like you. I have my own trials and tribulations. I have my struggles. I know what it's like not to have. I know what it's like to feel like all is lost. I get it. And so because I get it, I feel like I have to serve. And that's what it's all about, service. And really, that's what it's all about for all of us.
Yes.
But most people miss that component.
Right. I'm reminded when you said that about the story that you told about your mother. Once you finish a certain segment of
Exactly.
of your education.
Yeah. She said, I've done all I can do for you. I have another child to raise. You've got to figure it out.
Now this was high school?
This was when I graduated from college, getting ready to pursue my next avenue, which for me was law school. And I just remember looking in the mirror, and this is what Alex, I think, is talking about. And I said, God, if you will, I'm going to make this first step. If I make this first step, I'm going to trust you to make the next steps to make it happen. Because I can't see it. But I'm going to just take the first step, and you'll make the staircase. And so I just took the first step, and everything followed after that. I was accepted to Mercer, was supposed to go to Mercer, knew it was going to be very expensive, and I hadn't gotten a lot of debt in my undergrad. And then Georgia called me and said, we'll take you off the waiting list, you can come, and we'll give you a scholarship.
Wow.
And based upon what I had been told, I needed that, and everything just flowed therefrom. And so I just feel tremendously fortunate, tremendously blessed. And so my gift back for all the gifts I've been lucky enough to get and blessed enough to get, is to give to others.
Right. Well, we don't want to get you bombarded, Judge, but have you done much other speaking? I mean, I know that you got a job and I know that you got a family, but I think it's so important that, to the extent possible, that your message is presented, you know, to as many people as possible. So,
and I'm going to tell
maybe I'll just give you this show. Maybe
no, I'm going to tell you the way I tell the public. If you ask me to come speak, and I can put it in my agenda, and I'm not going to, you know, say, well, today is Wednesday, so even though I've got the whole day, I'm not going. No, I'm going to put it in there. My secretary will tell you, she tells me all the time, Judge, you're too busy. I have a 4 o'clock a meeting at 4 o'clock.
She got on us yesterday about this.
I had a 2 o'clock court appearance, but that's, when I say service, I'm not saying that just to say it. Anyone who knows me knows when I say it, I mean it. I'm giving back. And so, of course, I have to be there for my daughter. I have to help her get to all of her events. She plays traveling soccer, and I will do that. But I will always make myself available to talk to any group. I'm going to talk to a group in Wilcox County. I made that commitment before I think she called me 2 days after I had gotten the word from the governor that I was the judge. She said, I am just so impressed with you. Will you come talk to us? I didn't care that it wasn't necessarily in my 3 counties. She said she needed someone inspiring, and so I'm going.
Right.
Because that's
right.
That's what I feel about service. If you truly serve people, you can't limit yourself to the audiences that are
I want to talk about that.
Special.
Yeah.
You can't limit yourself to the geographic location that will elect you. If I'm truly a servant, if I truly mean that, then I give of myself in all the capacities that I can. And that's what it means for me.
Right.
Everybody has their own calling and their own reason. But I know for me that the will for me is to serve.
Right.
And that's what I plan to do. And I promised when I took the call that that's what I do every day. I told Governor Nathan Deal, I'll make these counties proud of me. And every day I'll serve every person that comes before me.
Right. Let's talk about the mechanics of the judgeship. You know, I mean, you are appointed, and how does that work? I mean,
well,
for
first,
a period of time? Or?
Exactly. First, the process was your name is nominated, put in, and I put in my own name. I don't know if anybody else put my name in as well. I didn't ask, but I put my name in. I went in before the Judicial Nominating Committee. They interview the applicants, and from there they make a short list. So there were 4 of us on the short list. And then we all interviewed with the governor. And then from there he selected the person to take the appointment. My appointment is until the end of the term of Judge Brown, who retired in the middle of his term.
Right.
And so that's why the appointment is limited, because I'm filling the remainder of his term in light of his retirement. And so I will be up for election in 2016 during the presidential election. And that's when the voters will have a chance to vote. And whether or not I have opposition depends on what happens if someone decides to run against me. But I will have to run for a 4-year term.
Right.
And every 4 years I will have to do that. So the beauty of that to me is you answer to the people all the time. And so something I say all the time when I'm in court, as long as I have this position, I will serve. And it is my hope that I will always make everyone proud, but I recognize that it's limited. And I have to step back and say that when I took this, being a single mom, a son in college, one in school, another one in school, it was truly an act of faith. Because I had a pretty nice, cushiony federal job, and I loved what I was doing, and my supervisors thought I was doing a good job, but I just knew that I had to answer the call to do what I had asked God to do. You can't ask for something and then back from it because it's scary, because that's not having faith.
Right.
So I moved out on faith to know that if you move me to this position, you've already made a way as I move forward. So 2016, it'll be here, and I'll be standing.
Being in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. You know, which is, every time I use that expression, I really get chill bumps, and it's so applicable. And I just want to say, publicly, that I really, really appreciate, Judge Colvin, You know, not because Governor Deal appointed her, not because she holds that superior position with the district in the court, not because she's got a son who gives her quotations and very good, not because necessarily that she goes to First Baptist and very, very active in the Scouts, but because of her heart primarily. Because of her heart and the sincerity, and because of the example that she sets for the community and everybody. You know, I think she sets an example for those of us who experience some measures of success. But I also think, you know, probably more importantly, that she sets an example for those of us who have had problems and who come up against bumps and obstacles, because, as she says, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed, and I'm going to let her make some final comments, Judge Verda, Superior Court Judge Verda Colvin, who was recently appointed and is the judge for the
Macon Judicial Circuit.
Macon Judicial Circuit. Do you have some parting comments? And thanking you for coming, but is there one other thing or two other things or three other things?
I just want to say, every day I step into my chambers, I feel so fortunate and so truly honored to represent every single person in every county that I represent, whether it's Bibb County, Crawford, or Peach. And I want you all to know, I said this privately to Governor Nathan Deal, but I say it publicly now to each of you, that every day understand that I will go to work, I will do all I can to make sure every decision I make is fair, impartial, and I will really hear people when they come before me. And I think at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. They want to have a thoughtful person who listens to what they have to say, who truly hears them. And I see them and I hear them. And I'll always do that for as long as I hold this position. I want to thank Mr. Habersham for giving me this opportunity, for giving me another forum in which to kind of share and my passion for life in general, and more importantly for people. And I'd just like to inspire everybody, let's just try to serve a little bit more and get outside of the arena that's comfortable, but serve in a greater capacity, because really that's the gift we give back for all the gifts we get. So thank you so much. Thank you, Judge.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Judge Verda, Superior Court Judge Verda Collins. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a good day.
www.